I still can't believe I'm telling this story, but I carried my 6-year-old on my lap, watching the water crash past and feeling my heart hammer so hard I thought it might just burst. My sister looked me square in the eyes and said, "We don't have time to wait," and then somehow abandoned my little girl on a moving boat. Yes, on a boat that was already pulling away from the dock and gathering speed. Was I wrong for screaming at her and dragging her off? Tell me if you would have done the same thing. It started as a fun family getaway. My sister, I'll call her Emma, had planned a short trip on a friend's boat out at the lake. She said it would be quick and easy, perfect for my daughter Lily and our little family break. Emma had arranged with her friend, we'll call him Mark, who owned the boat. Mark promised us we could hop on, cruise for a bit, enjoy the view, maybe go for a swim, and be back in time for dinner. It sounded magical. I had been juggling work and parenting for months, and the chance to just breathe just for a few hours felt like a gift. I told myself that everything would be safe. Mark seemed responsible enough. Emma was my sister, someone I trusted. So we loaded up, towels, snacks, water bottles, and our excited 6-year-old Lily, full of giggles and questions about when we'd dive in, when we'd see fish, when we would eat the picnic. She wore her little pink life jacket, the straps snug, the bright orange whistle attached. I kissed her forehead and told her how brave she was to be going on a boat adventure with me and Aunt Emma. And everything seemed perfect. The sun was out, the lake shimmering, the boat gliding gently away from the dock. I settled into a cushioned bench seat, thinking, this is it. This is our moment, part of me relaxing. Part of me watching Lily's face glow in the sunlight. Emma sat across, chatting with Mark, laughing like she'd edited out any stress. I felt grateful. Then, just 20 minutes in, Mark said he needed to pull ahead to catch a better spot for swimming. He accelerated the boat, the engine humming louder, water spritzing at the bow. I glanced at Lily and she giggled and pointed. "Look at the waves, Mommy, look." The life jacket felt safe. I breathed out, then Emma's phone rang. She answered it, whispered, looked up at me with what I now recognize as panic in her eyes. "We've got to go," she said softly. I asked, "What's wrong?" She shook her head. "We've got to head back immediately. I'll tell you later." Before I could push, the boat lurched as Mark turned sharply. I looked at Lily, her hand gripping the edge of the bench. The boat rocked. I said, "Lily, lean back, hold on." But she just squealed and slid a bit, the water spraying in. The life jacket made a weird gasp of air when she exhaled. My pulse soared, then Emma stood. She said to me, "I'm going ahead, get ready for the dock." I said, "Wait, why so soon? We didn't even swim." She shook her head, "No, we have to leave now, trust me." I felt a cold twist in my gut. Something didn't add up. Then she looked at Mark, they whispered, Mark nodded, and the engine revved. The boat took speed, and we were moving away from the nice, calm cove we'd entered originally. I gripped Lily. She leaned into my chest, her little body trembling. I asked Emma, "Are you okay? What's happening?" She looked away, her face pale. "It's better this way. We don't have time to wait." That sentence haunted me. We don't have time to wait. Why didn't she wait for me to pull the boat in safely? Why did she say that with such urgency? I asked again. She just shook her head. We were still moving. The dock receded. I could see our spot, our picnic set up, our towels drifting from the bench. In that moment I realized something terrifying. We were heading out into deeper water, faster. I looked at Lily's eyes. They were wide and scared. She had no idea what was coming. I blinked. I said, "Emma, you're leaving us on this boat." Her expression changed. "Mom's call came, hospital. Dad's stable now, but we have to rush back." My father had been ill, yes. But no one told me they had to immediately rush. And why were we heading out, not back? That's when I realized Emma wasn't just driving ahead. She meant to get away from the area we were in, go to the boat's home base fast, pick up something, and vanish. And she expected me to handle the child if things went wrong. My heart slammed. I said, "I'm not sure this is safe." She ignored me. She said, "I trust Mark. He'll handle it." Meanwhile Mark, cheerful and oblivious, was talking about fish and a cooler of drinks. I looked down at Lily. I saw her grip loosening, her face ghost white. My mind flooded. What if something happens? The life jacket rides up. The boat speeds. What if Mark miscalculates? What if the water isn't calm, but we hit waves? I realized I acted before fully processing. I pulled Lily closer, strapped her tighter, squeezed her hand. "Lily, it's okay. Mom is right here." She nodded, but her lips quivered. I turned to Emma. "You're leaving me in charge of her, on a boat that's moving away from home so fast you don't even wait for the picnic gear." Emma's jaw clenched. "Yes, I don't have time. Please just trust me." I froze, everything inside me screaming no. I wanted to say no. I wanted to take Lily off right then and there, but socially I froze. After all, it was her plan. It was her friend's boat. I doubted myself. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was being dramatic. I looked at Mark. He smiled, made jokes about water skiing. I looked at Emma. She stared forward. I felt torn. Then we passed a marker buoy, the open lake stretching out. Wind picked up. The bench beneath me sloshed. Boats in the distance churned wakes. I held Lily's hand so tight her fingers turned white. I could smell the gasoline, hear the motor hum, feel the boat's hull cutting water. Suddenly Emma spoke. "I need to jump off now. Wait till we're near the base." She rose from her seat. "I'll come back for you later." "What, you can't just jump off a moving boat?" I shouted. Mark turned. "Everything okay?" I said, "No, she can't just jump." Emma walked to the back with a bag. She opened it. I saw. My heart froze. The bag had some cash and papers. I realized she was fleeing something. And she was using us and my daughter as cover. Suddenly I cracked. I shouted, "This is my daughter in the boat. I want off." Mark looked confused. Emma told Mark quietly, "Stop the boat somewhere close to the edge. I'll step off there. Hurry." Mark hesitated. I said, "Stop now." At that moment, boat jolted over a wave. Lily lost balance. I caught her just in time. Everything slowed down. The sunlight, the motor noise, the wind flapping Emma's hair, the horizon line sitting too far. I knew then I had to choose. Let my sister abandon us and hope for the best, or take control and get off now. My mind flashed scenes. Lily slipping overboard, nobody noticing, me racing against time in freezing water. I leaned over, tightened both straps on Lily's jacket, stood up unsteady, shouted to Mark, "Take us back now." He looked at Emma, then me, then shifted the throttle back. And in that moment Emma stepped off. She jumped into shallow water near a small dock we never even knew existed. She waved briefly, "I'll sort it, call you later." And she was gone, just like that. My daughter and I were left on the boat slowly turning around, the sun lowering and the base dock still far away. Inside I was trembling. I had trusted her. I had believed. Now I had to steer the emotional wreckage. The next 10 minutes were the longest of my life. I had to carefully lower the throttle, lean over to reassure Lily, "No, Aunt Emma's still coming. I've got you." I looked at the water, darkening. The clouds creeping, the breeze stronger. I made Mark radio ahead to get ready. He apologized. He said he didn't know this was happening. He thought everything was normal. I just nodded. I squeezed Lily again. The dock finally appeared. We disembarked. Lily clung to me, silent. I carried her to the car, and the ride home was quiet. My heart still pounded. I asked Emma later, "Why did you abandon us?" Her answer, I panicked. "I didn't mean to put you two in danger. I thought you and Lily could handle the ride back with Mark." My voice broke. "You thought my 6-year-old could handle speeding boat without you there. Why did you say we didn't have time to wait?" She looked away. "I had some loans, some people I owed, and I needed to disappear for a bit. I didn't know how to tell you." In that moment I realized the trust was broken. My child's safety, my sister's responsibility, everything compromised by her crisis. I spent the next week vocalizing the trauma, nightmares of the boat flipping, thoughts of what could have happened. Lily wouldn't sleep without her jacket on. I had to reassure her constantly. I told my partner, "I can't believe she left us like that." He said, "You're right, that's not okay." I engaged lawyers, insurance, spoke to the boat company. We logged the event, even though no accident happened. I wanted record. I needed to protect Lily if something ever did happen. My sister called a few times, asking if we were okay. I answered, but I couldn't just forget. We kept communication minimal, the rift widened, the days turned into weeks. I still loved her, but trust had been altered. I kept replaying the moment her urgent words, "We don't have time to wait." That phrase haunted me. Why didn't we wait until the dock, until the engine off? Why did the plan change? She never answered fully. And I made a decision. I would forgive her eventually, but I would never let her take my child on another ride until that trust was rebuilt. So that's where I was. Left on the boat with my daughter, my sister vanished into the shallows, a friend in confusion, and a mother terrified. I had to decide whether to lash out or rise above. Before I tell you what I did next, and how I confronted both of them, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have stayed silent out of fear of making a scene? Would you have grabbed the child and walked off then and there? Would you have trusted your sister again? Go ahead, I'll wait. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. Now let me tell you what I did. I didn't just drive home and pretend it never happened. I confronted Emma the next day. I asked her to meet me at our childhood favorite cafe, the one we used to go to after school. I sat with Lily at the table and asked Emma to look at my daughter. I said, "Look at her. She was terrified because you vanished into the water. You left me to handle her, on that boat moving faster than comfort." Her face crumpled. She started to cry. She said she felt ashamed. She admitted she had serious financial trouble, the kind that made her panic and do irrational things. But I told her, that doesn't justify endangering my child. I laid out what I expected: safe behavior, full disclosure, and never again putting me or her at risk. She apologized. I said, "Apology accepted, but actions speak louder than words." I insisted she attend parenting classes with me just for accountability. She agreed. I told Mark I would meet him to discuss liability, set boundaries. He admitted he hadn't known Emma had emergency business, and would have turned back if asked. I asked for clarity, no more surprises. For the first time, I said, "If another emergency pops up, you call me and we decide together. I'm not letting my daughter ride into the unknown again." Emma nodded. Over the next few weeks, I watched as her behavior changed. She cut ties with certain friends who were dragging her into risk. She enrolled in a financial counseling program. She sent gifts to Lily books and stuffed animals, trying to rebuild trust. I accepted them, but I stayed guarded. What I realized is, the hardest part does not follow the dramatic moment of confrontation. It follows the everyday afterwards. Because every time Lily asks, "Will Aunt Emma come with us tomorrow?" I would say, "We'll see," and she senses something. I changed. I became a protective version of me, leaner, firmer. I talked to Lily more about what happened in age-appropriate ways. I didn't frame Emma as bad. I said, "Sometimes grown-ups make wrong choices, and when they do, we look out for each other." My daughter showed such resilience. She bounced back. But the fear didn't vanish overnight. I still shudder when boats pass by fast, when water splashes unexpectedly. That day marked something for me. I saw how quickly trust can dissolve, how a fun ride can become a dangerous gamble. I realized that when someone says, "We don't have time to wait," those words might mask fear, panic, and bad judgment. And I also discovered strength. I grabbed control, I protected my child, I demanded better. If this story has taught me one thing, it's always trust your instincts, especially when children are involved. And never accept someone else's hurry when your safety is on the line. If you were on my side, really on my side, go ahead and hit that like button. If you want more stories like this, subscribe for more real, life Reddit-style tales. And drop your final thoughts in the comments section. What would you have done, and how would you handle the aftermath? Thanks for listening to my story. I'll see you all in the next story.